Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Shattering Place podcast. I am going to introduce you to medium and intuition development teacher Gloria Battini in a moment. I've just had this amazing conversation with her, and she's so vibrant and so passionate about her work, helping people develop what she believes are natural human abilities to access the unseen world. But before I share the interview with her, I want to share a bit of a reflection I had after our conversation. So, in this conversation, as you'll soon hear or watch, I asked Gloria if she ever sat with her, because she often sits with her guidance, her spirit team, whatever we want to call that, God, and she asks questions, personal questions for her own help. And I asked her if she ever asks her team, her guides, about like the state of the world and where we're going in terms of our evolution and what's happening in the world. And she said no. She said, I only ever ask them, like, what can I do right now? In other words, how can I serve? How can I serve? And it really got me thinking because even though, I created this podcast, and one of the big questions I had in season one is, where are we going as a collective? And this is what I think is happening based on, my intuition, my research, even though that's obviously an interest. And I ask these questions in my own personal life. I too, when I sit in meditation or when I'm trying to get information, it's about my personal life and it's about my clients. Like, how can I help this person? Or what do I need to know about that? Or, it's very on the ground. And it got me thinking about you may have heard of Lee Harris's new book, Future Humans, which he did with Regina Meredith from Gaia. And Regina Meredith asks questions of the Z's, which are the team that Lee Harris channels. And I heard him in an interview say that it was a little bit outside of his comfort zone because as a channel, he never normally asks these big geopolitical questions like, where are we going as a future, the future human? And that was what Regina was asking him. And I thought, wow, okay, I've heard Lee say this, I've heard Gloria say this. I'm reflecting that I do this in my own experience. And it had me realize that, maybe in it- going forward, in this collective evolution that I name in season one, it is really about feeling our way from inside our own personal experience on the ground. It's really not about trying to predict or analyze the world from a global perspective, that evolution really lives in our own personal journey, and that intuition is really the grounding cord into the earth that we need to navigate our own lives. And as I spoke about a lot in season one, when we do that, our internal work, when we really turn to our own healing, it has a ripple effect out. And to the extent that something's happening in the collective, we don't really need to know the big picture unless, of course, that's our job, that's our mission. So I'll leave you with that reflection, and I hope you enjoyed the interview with the incredibly vibrant and fun Gloria Battini. Finally, quickly, if you want to work with me personally, there are two options. One is that I have a paid membership community that's hosted on Substack. It is just $10 a month, discounts for buying it for a year up front. And it's an opportunity to meet like-minded peers. Essentially, we join together as a group. We will have monthly calls, and you get access to all my publications, outtakes, and communication with my guests. So that's one opportunity. The other opportunity is a 3-month one-on-one program, which is essentially looking at the evolutionary structure of your life to help you and support you to be the most authentic version of you. We use evolutionary astrology to start, and then we use a lot of different therapeutic tools over 3 months to really support you to become that new version of yourself. All of the links and applications to apply are in the show notes below. Welcome, Gloria, to the Shattering Place podcast. And I would love to hear a bit about your hero's journey, but also, especially, we have a shared mission, I think, because you say on your website that your mission is to foster a new earth, and you believe that there's a ripple effect that happens. And something I'm really passionately believe, and something I suggest in the first series of this podcast, is that when we do our own inner work, that we do have a transmission that affects the world. So I love that that's your mission. transparently. Yeah, but I'd love to hear about you. So share with us how you got to where you are.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Michelle. It's an honor. So thank you so much. How it all started. I feel like I was switched off for a very long time. I was switched off and like disconnected. That's it. That's a better word. I feel like I was disconnected for a very long time. But then again, then I feel like I had to be disconnected so that then I knew what that was about, if that makes sense.
Uh,
When you're
mm-hmm.
like, more things needed to happen in a certain way, that's what I had to experience, because otherwise, had I not experienced, then I wouldn't be able to know what it feels like and what is it that I need
Yeah.
to do now. You know what I mean? But I was very disconnected for a very long time. I felt like I was connected as a child, for sure,
Mm,
very like intuitive as a child, but then it was sort of like shut down. It wasn't necessarily
mm,
okay to talk about certain things. I was raised Catholic as well. So like it wasn't as free to talk about the things that like felt really natural to me.
mm,
Really met with the, oh yes, like encouraging kind of thing. But they didn't stop necessarily making sense to me. I just thought, oh, when you automatically make those decisions as a child, they're like, okay, we don't talk about that. That's
yeah.
not
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, it's sort of
Off
like,
limits.
yeah, exactly. So it went like that. And then I experienced a lot of bullying, was in a toxic relationship from the age of 18 until the age of like 32.
Whew,
And
long time.
a very long time,
Long
yes, a very
time.
long time. And even though I had all these things dormant, within
Mm,
me, I felt there was a huge chunk of my life, at least 20 years, where I was completely disconnected, you know, um,
mm,
experiencing daily anxiety, experiencing OCD, suppressed in an abusive relationship, and all of that.
mm,
And I was very lost. Like I was really, really lost. And then in 2016, I feel like that's my rock bottom. I had so
mm.
much anxiety and so much OCD that I could not function, like it would take me 45 minutes to leave the house in the morning because of all the OCD rituals and stuff that I needed to do to feel
Oh
even
my gosh.
okay, to leave the house.
Mm,
And so I was always like, you know what? I feel like it's time for me to do some work.
mm,
And so I started working with a coach who specialized in anxiety disorders, and she was very helpful. She really, really helped me with all of the OCD stuff. And then
mm.
fast forward a year and a half, and I was 50% better, like 50% better. And that I found like opened my mind, and it gave me a
Mm.
space for experiences that I didn't have space for before, because it was all occupied by the OCD and the anxiety,
Ah, yeah.
you know, and it was all there, and I was very much in survival for such a long time.
Mm,
And after working with her for 18 months, sort of like things started to open up. And I actually realized I didn't even know I was in an abusive relationship until 6 months before I left. I had no idea. Like I felt like that's just what relationships were like. It can't all be perfect. You can't have the perfect partner. That's what it is. And a little bit possibly because of the examples that I saw growing up as well. And
mm.
you don't know what you don't know. If you don't know what something healthy looks like, how are you
Yeah.
supposed to,
How can you know?
how can you know? And
Mm,
so I didn't even know for a very long time. And then once I started having this space available in my mind, and it was not super occupied by all the anxiety,
mm,
I started to actually see and be like, okay, wait, this is not okay. Like this is not right. This is
mm,
not what love feels like. This is not what a beautiful, fulfilling life feels like. Like no. And so I started taking care of myself. I made a promise to myself actually in 2017. We took a trip with my ex to the US, and we visited like all different parks and stuff. And it was one of my dreams to go to Monument Valley. And
mm,
so we did. And I was very lucky to have this moment very early at sunrise in the valley. And I just saw there was nobody there, and I just saw like this beautiful like valley unfolding before me, which was a sacred land, so it's really spiritually charged. Um,
mm.
And I just felt very small. I just felt very small. I just felt like all the problems that I had didn't really matter because the world, because there was so much more there.
Mm.
It or not, I felt it, you know? And so I was like, you gotta come clean, like towards yourself. Like you're not living honestly, you know, like you're not living in alignment with who you are. You're lying to
Mm.
yourself every day, you know. And so that was my thing. So I gave myself, I made a promise and I said, okay, no more. I'm not gonna lie to myself ever again. And I'm gonna face whatever it is that needs to be faced. And then for the next like 6, 7 months after that, I really, really focused on myself. I focused on, I was carrying a lot of extra weight physically, and so I focused on that. I focused on really understanding what was going on in my relationship, and it's not that even that I left. Like I was like, okay, I started speaking up. I was like, things
Mm.
okay, like this is, I can't deal with this. I don't think that this is fair, and so I tried, because
Mm.
we're married, and I'm not just gonna be like, goodbye. Like I wanted to see what it was, but I was
Mm.
met with more and more, you know, abuse and whatever. And so I was like, okay,
Mm.
that's it then. And then January 2018, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore. I tried everything that I can, but that this is not it. And so
Yeah.
I left and went to live on my own. And that's when the whole journey started. I felt like that's when I really started to get to know myself. And
Mm.
up to all the things that I had suppressed since I was a kid. I was like, okay, so these things are clearly inside of me. Let's just see what they are, you know?
Yeah.
And then just open up like a whole different journey that got me to where I am now. But that's how it started. Yes.
So what was suppressed? What did you have an inkling of something? I mean, are we talking about like you could see energy or you could feel things, or what do you think was suppressed?
A lot of things that gave me joy and a lot of things that I was curious about. So I was
Mm.
always very curious about astrology, but it was
Mm.
always mocked or taken like unseriously, being like, yeah,
Yeah.
but you believe these sort of things, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I gave myself permission to actually know, you know what? Like I'm interested in this and there's no,
Ah.
like there's nothing shameful or wrong in me exploring it. So I started self-studying. Um
Mm.
Studied like my whole chart and a lot of stuff about my whole chart made a lot of sense. Both like
Mm.
about how I felt inside, about things that I'd experienced in my life and all of that. And then I started to open up more to energy and researching a little bit more like spirits and energy because I've always felt it around me, but to a certain
Mm.
extent I thought that that was everybody's experience a little bit because
Mm.
I didn't feel I could necessarily talk about these things, but also because I felt like I didn't even have necessarily the right words
Mm.
to express what is it that it was. All I knew was that when somebody died, I never felt like they went anywhere, you know?
Mm.
And I remember actually my grandfather dying and my grandma, she was incredibly sad and grieving. They'd been together more than 50 years. And I just naturally said to her, but he's not gone anywhere. And I just like, it just like came out. I was like, but I can sense him, like he's here. And she got really upset and I felt like it was hurtful because
Yeah, yeah.
you know, I wasn't necessarily understanding her experience. And so I
Mm.
felt like, oh, maybe this is just me. Like maybe I'm just, maybe this is not right. you know,
Yeah.
these things. But then actually after 2018 and after I started like opening up to these things, I had a spiritual session with somebody that told me that I had a lot of energies around me. And I said to her, I know, I just have no idea what to do with that.
What
Like,
do I do with it? Yeah, yeah.
what do I do? Like, I can sense it. I
Yeah.
know that it's there. I'd love to interact. I just don't even know like where to start. And so she
Yeah.
just suggested, she just said, you know what? Just start looking into it. Just start looking into, a little bit of like intuitive development and stuff. And I think it was not long after that. It was a New Year's Eve. I can't remember how long ago, but it was a New Year's Eve. And I said, okay, one of my wishes for next year is to find a
Mm.
mentor that's going to help me understand this and it's going to help me just,
Yeah.
see how to work with this. And in February the next year, I did. And I found my teacher and I trained one-to-one with her. And when I started doing the training, I finally had like these tools that allowed me to interact with what I was sensing. And it was all
Wow.
new world open. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense now. You know,
Yeah.
I felt like I could explore it safely. I could be myself. And yeah, and then from there, that's what I've been doing.
I'm really curious about, having gone through all that, like, looking back to your anxiety and OCD. Do you have, like, an understanding of what that was for you? Was it part of the toxic relationship? Was it part of past traumas? Was it just something that happened in parallel? Obviously, it disappeared through working with someone, but did the gifts opening up to, like, mediumship, did that also change it? I mean, just curious about your own if you have an opinion about that looking back now, what do you think about that?
I think it was a combination of all the things that you've mentioned. I really think it
Okay.
was a combination. It was definitely a
Mm.
lot of past trauma because I was just in survival for about 20 years. Um, and and also because of bullying, because the bullying that I received,
Ugh.
like since like a very, very young age, I was very little,
Yeah.
like 5 years old or something, and it carried on for a very long time. And
Oh.
so it made me feel like there was something fundamentally wrong with me.
Yeah.
And so the anxiety of just like being in the world and feeling like there's something wrong with you, you know? And I just couldn't allow myself to be myself because I was like, the clearly who I am is wrong because this is
Yes.
yeah, right? So a lot of
Mm.
that a lot of it stemmed from that, but yes, I resolved a lot through working with this coach for sure. But then once I started the spiritual training, the intuitive training, and I started working with the energies and interacting with them, that's what actually gave me full like unconditional peace because I
Wow.
you're here to support me. Like the reason why I'm sensing all these things is because they are part of me and they are a part of who I am. And so I can use this, like they're here to help me. They're not here to, I don't have to be scared of it. Like, it's not weird. It's not like all of this is perfect.
Mm.
And I have to say actually that astrology, it's like studying my own chart. There's so much
Mm.
in my chart that points to it. And it was
Yeah.
all like that permission slip that I didn't have when I was little, that permission
Yeah.
like, "Well, you're feeling these things. Yes, of course you are. Look, this is
Yeah.
what blueprint,
Yeah.
this is who you are." And so
Yeah.
yeah, that was a lot of peace that it brought on for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel the same way about astrology. It just gives you so much clarity of like, oh, that's why, that's why I'm this. Yeah. And you're Taurus too, right?
I'm a Taurus moon. I'm
Oh,
a
Taurus
Sun
moon.
yeah, Cancer Sun, Taurus moon, Virgo rising.
Ah.
Yes.
I am a Taurus sun, Virgo moon. So yeah, I remembered that from when I read your profile.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, we've got some things connecting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very earthy, very earthy. So with the mediumship, when you said that you started to get the tools and skills you needed to actually communicate, how do you do that? What is your method? Are you very visual or do you hear things or is it very like kinesthetic? What is your
Um,
method?
I I I use all my senses to connect.
Okay.
Initially, it was more visual, yes.
Mhm.
And then the more I practiced, the more I allowed myself to use all my senses.
Mm.
Just stay very open. This is something actually I teach my students as well. It's like it's not like try not to put yourself in a box. You're not
Yeah.
necessarily just a clairvoyant.
Mm.
You're receiving signals. So allow yourself to stay open with your whole body, with your whole, energy, and allow the messages to come through in the way that they want to come through because maybe different spirits communicate with you in different ways.
Yeah.
Some of them might be more visuals, but some of them might be more like body based, And
Mm.
so I've mastered that, I feel. Like I mastered the skill of just like being completely open with all the senses. So to
Mm.
or it's very mixed. Sometimes
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's somebody that wants to tell me exactly how they passed, very often they make me feel it physically.
I've
They
heard that.
yeah, so they point
Yeah.
part of the body that was hurting, you know, if they have
Yeah.
like that to say. Um,
Yeah.
but otherwise, but also I feel like another thing is to be very communicative and very curious about what they have to say, which is another thing
Mm.
students because they're like, how do you get so much information for them? And I'm like, I just ask questions. That's literally all I do. Like I just ask questions. I'm just very curious. If I feel something in my body or if I see an image, I ask them, I was like, why did you send me that? What does that mean?
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
just like very, very, very curious. I think that's what
Yeah. Yeah. You have a good old chat by the sound of things. You
yeah,
get
yeah, I do. I love it. I genuinely I literally feel like I'm sitting down and having tea with them and be like, "Okay, let's just go for this," you
let's
know?
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me your life story. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
What was the most surprising thing for you when you started doing this work? Was anything surprising?
Uh, it wasn't. Meaning that it was one of those things that I was like, "Oh," and then, well, of course.
Okay.
No, it was like the surprise, and I was like, "Well, yeah, but is it a surprise?" I actually felt that, which is also one of the feedbacks that I get the most from my students. I felt that everything that I was learning, I was not actually learning. I feel like that it was just already inside. I feel like that I was remembering.
Ah,
And so
yeah.
initially I was very surprised. I was like, how do I know how to do this? Like, how
Yeah.
it, how did I look? How was I so lost before not knowing how to interact with all these energies?
Yeah.
And now that I get these tools, it's sort of like obvious, like
Yeah.
this and the realization of the fact that I was just remembering.
Yeah.
That was like the most amazing thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you it's like over the, years you've been doing this, how do you feel like you've got this like in your mind you've got this idea of how the afterlife or another dimension, like how it works, how it's structured, kind of like what happens when people cross over? Has it given you kind of like a map that feels like, okay, yeah, now I kind of have a sense of things?
Um, what I would say is that I don't think, from what I understand, I don't think we actually go anywhere.
Mm.
I really don't think we go anywhere. Um, because every time I ask the question, everybody answers, "We're just here. Like we're just exactly where you are.
Yeah.
We're not someplace else. This isn't another side. This isn't necessarily like a different dimension. Like we are just all in the same place." And is my understanding that we just become energy again, but it's not,
Mm.
we don't necessarily go anywhere. That's what I
Yeah.
understand. It seems to be very natural. It
Mm.
be very like, yeah, this is what it is. And then when I asked, what, because I had so many conversations, my granddad seemed to love talking about this. I had so many conversations with me, like, so what are you doing? Is there food? Is there money? And every
Yeah,
time
yeah, yeah. Tell
he
us, tell us.
laughs at me.
Yeah, yeah. What does he say?
He laughs. He laughs. He's like, "No, there's no money. There's no." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, you can eat if you want to, but you don't need it." And I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." It's like the most obvious thing. And then I asked him and I said to him, "So if you wanted to go anywhere," and he always asks, "I don't need to because I'm already there." So I asked him, "So you can be with me, but you can also be doing whatever you want somewhere else?" And he says, "Yes, exactly." So I said, "Is it happening like all together?" He says, "Yes." I was like, "Is it confusing?" And he goes, "No." It's like the most natural thing. Like, this is what it is. And then
Yeah.
another thing that has come through is that just the colors and the things that you can see is so much more.
Yeah, I've
That
heard that. Yeah.
There is so much more. And then I asked about the life review thing, which a lot of people seem to talk about.
Yeah, with near death. Yeah.
Yeah, and I asked to so many souls this, and they always say, like, it's not that you're sat in an office with anybody doing a life review. It's like an instant understanding. It's like a
Mm.
fraction of a second of, like, realization of processing. Like, it's just what, like, boom. It's crossing
Yeah.
over, and that's it,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
it's
So
fascinating.
interesting. And do you have an experience or an opinion about reincarnation and how that fits in? I often wonder that because I have a big journey around reincarnation and my experiences, but I often think, okay, so like, do they hang around and then they're like, kind of see you later? I gotta go catch up with a new life, or is there a part of them that's just always going to be grandpa on the other side, but another part of him reincarnates? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I've had experiences with souls that felt further away.
Mm,
When I called, so for example, I called someone because I see them all coming from the same side, and they all
yeah.
go through the same door
Hmm.
to come and speak to me and to exchange, like, this conversation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then sometimes it happens that I called a soul and they came from somewhere else, and
Mm,
instead of having this more vivid energy, it felt more like a lot of colors and a lot of, like, different strands of light, you know?
mhm.
And when I asked them, "Why did you come from there?" They said, "Because I'm doing something else." And so you know, I'm busy with something else, or I'm doing something else. And I was
Mm.
like, "You mean like you're living another life?" And they said, "Yes." But they still come through as this person. So the energy is still there anyway, but it feels like they feel a little further away, you know? But then
Further away, yeah.
when I explored different lives, um, it feels like all our lives are happening at once. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear it, but my neighbor
Yeah,
has.
I can.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So it does feel like, yeah, all the parallel lives are happening at once anyway. So it's all very, yeah, it's all very, very interesting and fascinating, I
It's
find.
very interesting. I mean, not that we have to understand everything, but I'm always interested in what a person's experience is. Like your experience is going to be different because of what you do, and my experience is, whatever it is. But I think those experiences matter. I know sometimes it's tempting to kind of try to draw a map and understand it, and I feel like maybe our brains aren't really meant to understand all of creation.
Yeah.
So yeah. When people come through for you, and I know you teach as well. So you teach you teach people to become mediums, and you work with people as well. Um, what was I going to ask? So is there a theme that comes through in terms of, like, is there a common message that they have, or a common perspective? Over time you can say, well, this is what they think on the other side about us here in the body. Like, do they often give us the same kind of advice, or yeah, just any common themes?
It's not necessarily that they give the same kind of advice, but the feedback that I've received is that they are wiser and more peaceful version of what they were with a physical body. That seems
Yes.
like a pattern or like a common thread for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot more wisdom and there's a lot more peace in there for sure.
Ah,
And another thing that comes through very often is, please speak to me. Please connect with me. Please interact. Like, I feel like there's such a desire for them, that we understand, that
yeah.
we can that definitely always comes through. Yeah. That
Yeah.
it's like, please speak to me all the time. Please talk to me. Like, please, interact with me. Talk to me,
Yeah.
whichever way. But there's always a request of, please, let's talk. And I feel like it's probably because they maybe they have the double experience, right? So they've been on this side, and they want to tell us like you're missing out.
Yeah.
You know, you're missing
Don't
out.
be
Like,
in a rush though.
yeah, no,
Yes.
no, no, like you're missing out in your physical experience, meaning that you feel like
Oh.
so finite to that physical body when it actually isn't. I feel like
Ah.
one of the main messages. It's like, it's not just that. It's not just what
Yeah.
it's not just your physical body, like it's so much more. So like please let's connect because it can be so much more, you know?
And so what is the so much more? Like, what does that look like? What other things are they suggesting is possible, or is it just that piece of open your mind and you'll be amazed by the miracles?
That actually, and I know, like you said at the beginning, we have this common, purpose, which has to do with New Earth.
Mm.
That very much connects with that, very much
Okay.
connects with that. As in, like, you're as a human being, you're not necessarily just a physical body. You
Yeah.
embrace everything that you are, which is a multidimensional being already,
Mm.
being of energy. So you can utilize your physical body to do certain things for sure, because you do live in a physical world. Yeah.
Mm.
But you can also expand yourself or expand your awareness to your own multidimensionality, to your own um energetic make,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
utilize that. And I feel like that's the actual human experience. Like the human experience is both. Like it's
It's
not
both.
right.
Yeah.
The actual human experience, I feel like as humans, we are so fascinating because we're so lucky. We're so lucky
Mm.
because we have this beautiful physical body that is a work of art and it's a miracle, like within itself. The way that it's like so self-healing, the way that it
Mm.
all these organs, like everything like perfectly, put together. Plus,
Mm.
we have all this energy, we have all this field around us to
Mm.
interact with. And it's not just that, it's that our field also interacts with other people's fields and, and other energies. And I'm like,
Mm.
what New Earth is about. Like New Earth is about that. It's, again, like it's not someplace else. Like New Earth is a choice to live in that awareness. I feel, it's a
Mm.
live in the awareness and the fact that we are all connected in many more ways than we thought we were. You know,
Yeah.
there's so
Yeah.
much to us.
So there is a reality to our multidimensionality in terms of our energy, in terms of our perceptive ability. And it sounds like the spirits, or I don't even know what to call them, but those who have passed from the other side are encouraging their loved ones to kind of open up those abilities to communicate with them, but then even just more generally, just to walk through the world with more awareness of our ability and capacity. So humans we all have latent kind of psychic abilities then.
Oh
That's
my
your
god.
experience.
This is what I again, this is another thing that I teach. It's like, look, intuition, it's not a gift. And this is one of the things that gets me like the most, because for so many years, centuries, mediums and stuff, first of all, there's this whole like dark thing surrounding it first, as in like it's not true, it's impossible, like that whole side of things, right? And
Mm.
then there's, like, completely like this different side to it that is like, oh no, it is possible, but you have to be gifted. You have to be
Yeah.
special, right? You have to be so special. It has to be such a gift, this like impossible thing that only very, very few people have. And
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, sorry, that's BS." That is not what it is. So it is, intuition isn't a gift. Yeah. So we're all born with intuition. It's a very personal thing for sure, because it works
Mm.
for each of us in very different ways, which is possibly why it takes a little longer to understand it, because there's
Mm.
necessarily a standard framework to
Mm.
it or to open up to it, but we all have it. The gift, the actual gift, is how you use it, is your specific way of doing that.
Okay. Yeah.
that's what we're uncovering as a gift, you know?
Mm,
Intuition, the being open, that's just who we all are. That's
yeah.
just standard. Everybody has it. It's there.
Yeah, but I guess a lot of people like you did in the first part of your life, we block it, we shut it down. We don't cultivate it. And because our culture, society doesn't prioritize it yet, I'd like to think that we'll evolve beyond this. We're not teaching children from the beginning that they have those gifts. And there are programs, and I mentioned them in my podcast series 1, where they teach children to see blindfolded, or they teach them psychic abilities in a more school setting. And I believe the takeaway from that is that all children, meaning all humans, actually have this ability. And if we cultivate it, particularly when a child is young, then we won't lose them and we'll grow them. But the problem is that it often takes a crisis or some near death experience to actually go, oh wow, I am more than my physical self, and then to take the time to cultivate that.
Yeah, but that's conditioning.
Yes.
Like that's the conditioning, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that's why I think the work that we're doing is very important, because the more we
Mm,
kind of work and the more we open up adults to it, then that's the ripple effect that we were talking about, right? So
mm,
all the adults that are going to have children, or even if you don't have, I mean, I don't have children, but I have friends that have children, and they're all the time they're asking me, how can we keep them open? Like, how can we work with their intuition? How can we not suppress this? So even if you
mm,
kids, you will have a ripple effect just by leading by example, right? And I feel like
mm,
that's another thing that feeds into the concept of new earth. It's like, what is the earth that we want to build? You know, if we want to go away from that
mm,
connection, we start from ourselves and healing as adults, because we now have the awareness that we were disconnected, that something has happened that disconnected us. So what do we want to do for the future generations? What do we want to do for the young? I love working with young
mm.
people. Like, I have such, like, Gen Z is my favorite generation. I love them so much. And they're so, like, open, and I'm like, please, just, like, let's work together. We can, there's so much that we can do, and so much that I'm learning from them as well, but also, like, the
Mm,
little alphas as well, the little Gen Alphas, which are all my kids, my friends' kids. Again, they are so much more open, but I think that's the
mm,
result of the previous generations doing the work, right? So if we do the work, if we heal, there's automatically a ripple effect. There's a
mm,
ripple effect. We are automatically creating a new earth consciously if we approach our own life
mm.
consciously and with intention.
Absolutely. Are you finding more people are interested in doing psychic development courses, or that the people are changing, like, kind of over the years who do them, like they're more open or they have more skills, or yeah, anything like that?
I have found, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
found that there's so much more openness towards these things. Yes. I feel
Mm.
like there's, and again, but I think that this is great that this happens. I feel like more people resonate with quantum physics. I feel like more people resonate with stuff that it's a more quote unquote woo woo. But again, like, it's all based on the same thing. Like, it's all
Yeah.
the same thing, right? It is all the same
Mm,
thing, but that's the point of the gift that I was talking about earlier, is because for some people, the gift is to do it in a woo-woo way, because that's who they are and that's how they express you
mm,
energy, and that's beautiful because there's going to be an audience for that. But other people are meant to do it in a very sciencey, quantum physics, based way, because that's who they are. But at the end of the day, we're all learning the same thing. It's
yeah.
all the same.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then you have people who, they work with extraterrestrial entities and channel, higher intelligences. And I mean, like, it's just vast, isn't it? I don't even know. You don't do that. Do you, or do you channel? I don't remember. I don't
I
think you.
do as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I have a
And
lot of
who do
as well.
who do you channel? Like, what is your source?
I ask.
Oh, okay.
And, like,
Different
I
different
just
entities.
ask, I just ask, "I would like to receive information on this." and I just connect and just receive the information. I am very like body intuition led. So I meditate
Yeah.
about an hour to an hour and a half every morning. And I just go in very deep. Everything works through the heart space for me. Like the heart is that portal that you go inside there and it's got all the answers. And it feels like the moment I step inside of the heart space, I feel like it's like this beautiful like galaxy that opens up and I just need to ask. And whatever, there was a book actually. Was it Abraham Hicks? Yes, Ask and
Yeah.
It Is Given, right? Ask and It Is Given.
Yeah.
That's exactly that. I know that all I have to do is ask the questions. And sometimes I have one of my guides coming forward saying, like, okay, so this is what we're doing. Today, I was channeling like a council of light because I needed information on some like next steps that I want to do in a course that
Wow.
and so I'm like, and I was like, okay, I went to one of my guides and I'm asking, okay, so this is what I want to do today. This is what I want to gain information on today. Who do I need to speak to? And then she opens up a door and I walk through and I find who it is that's waiting. So it can be so many different things all the time. So, and I love
Oh
it.
my goodness. Yeah.
I love it.
So share with us anything interesting, or I mean, it's all interesting, let me be honest. Okay. But anything you would like to share from your channeling sessions that's maybe interesting to the listeners in terms of humanity, evolution, the collective, or just something wow that you hadn't thought of that you got. I mean, obviously I'm not asking you to share what you channeled for your business or your clients, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, is there anything you can share?
Yeah, one of the things that actually was the most helpful was
Mm,
the understanding of working with energy. That was
mm,
one of the most amazing things because I went in and I asked my guides, okay, I want to create this thing in my life, right?
mm.
Please help me create this. I want to create this in a way that is authentic to me. I want to create this, live the most authentic life that I can live. And this is what I would like to happen. This is what feels aligned. How do I do it? And in this case, it was my guides that came through, but they were simply showing me like all the things that I cannot see with the physical eye. So like all the particles, and they were just like, you just move them. You just move them in place wherever you want. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, how do I move them? And so they showed me, it's like, okay, so whatever goal you have, now I'm not going to share like my personal thing, but let's say your goal is um, write a book. Okay.
I
Like
wrote I wrote a book.
you wrote a book. Okay.
Yeah.
So your goal is to write a book and
Yeah.
you want to reach X amount of people with this book. Okay.
Yeah.
So what they said is like, okay, so put it up there, put it in your field, like see it in your field, the book, right? The writing the book goal. But don't see it like as the writing the book, see it as the energy of writing the book. Like what would
Okay.
be particles, because everything is a quantum level is made of energy, right? So what the so picture the particles that are making this thing. Okay. So that's the
Okay.
energy of writing the book, right? That's the
Yeah.
energy of writing the book.
Mhm.
Then there is you and your field, right? And see your particles and then slot it in. Where does it need to go in your field? Where does it, and it's just literally about that. That was the most mind blowing.
Mm.
Whatever you want, that is for your highest and best good, for the highest and best good of all, for you to live your most authentic life, for you to be your most authentic, for you to be yourself. Take it and slot it in energetically.
Uh,
Like we are moving constantly and interacting constantly.
mm.
So what if we did that intentionally? What if we closed our eyes and we opened our senses and we opened our heart and actually stop thinking that all those things are invisible and start thinking that all these are particles
Mm.
interact with? you
So
know?
bring it into our energy
Just
field,
bring it
like
into your
our
energy, slot it in, create a
yeah.
space in your field that says, this is the space of my book. This is what I want to create with my book. This is the impact that I want to have. So let's take that energy and just slot it in there and lock it in and give it all the unconditional love, all the blessings that we have, all the space that we can possibly create for that,
Mm.
just to charge it. And the thing is that when I started doing that, the things in your physical world start to click in so many different ways, and they start to rearrange themselves, they
Mm.
like rearrange themselves, and the more you stay open and the more you imagine that you've got like these, I never tried VR, by the way, but imagine that you've got this VR goggle, this VR set, and you've got a VR on and you've got your gloves, right? So
Yeah.
when you put your gloves on in your VR set, it feels like you're touching things, right?
Mm.
And I'm like, I don't need that because I can already do that through meditation. That's what I do. I connect to that space inside of the heart. I see what I want. I have my gloves on to work with energy and I just slot stuff in.
And are you moving your hands or is this happening in your mind?
I do both,
Yeah.
both. I am very
Yeah.
physical, so I move a lot. I have like different creatures in my energy as well, so I pet them and I
Yeah.
interact with them like loads of different guides, and I hug and all of that. Yeah, I just move it all around. And
Yeah. Yeah.
there's been times, for example, when I use that even to release. So, what if I have something that is occupying so much space within myself and within my field? How do I do that? Like, how do I
Mm.
move that? Because sometimes that's what we need to do. Like, there's not
Yeah.
enough space to call in what we want to call in because something else is occupying it, right? And
Mm.
you do the work. So if you have things to address, you do want to address it at a cognitive level because obviously it is your physical body that is storing any traumas
Mm.
stored in your physical body. Yes, that's true. So you need to process it at a cognitive level in order for you to understand it. But then what about the energetics of it?
Mm.
Right? We have to do both. And so what if just by doing the energetics, I make my life a little bit easier when it comes to release it in other ways?
Mm.
And you do the same. Like I find it in the field. Where is it? Okay, that's the thing that needs to be released. And I just do whatever I'm always like very guided in the moment. So whatever it is that needs to happen to release it, I will do it. But in
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. So you can even find like a negative thought or an energy of something in your energy field and you can just in your mind go in and remove that.
Remove it. Yeah. And remove it. Every
Yeah.
single thing is a particle. Every
Yeah.
single thing, whether it's a thought, whether it's, air, like whatever it is, everything
Mhm.
particle and you can interact with it.
Yeah. And why do you think sometimes some things are easier or harder to remove? I mean, I wonder about that because sometimes things can stay a lot longer than say we want them to, particularly if there's been like early trauma and can we get help from guides and angels to help us remove that or is it sometimes it's there for a reason?
I feel like that's a combination of things. Sometimes is there for a reason.
Mm.
Sometimes is there, there's one thing that happened to me in childhood that I addressed at least 3 or 4 times. And then late last year, I was like, I feel like this is going to be the last time that I address this.
Okay, yeah.
Something like slotted in, like something clicked in and was like, okay, I feel like now I have gotten every possible learning, every possible lesson for this thing. And it is the last time I'm going to address it. Like you just feel it, right? And so I feel like
Mhm.
sometimes, yes, there are lessons connected to it. Sometimes I believe it's our belief, like
Mm.
why can we not release it? Because there's
Yeah.
a belief connected to that we
Mm.
free of it. And why is that? What would happen
Mm.
if we're actually free? Because maybe we're afraid of getting everything that we want in life. Because we think
Mm.
failure, but I found more people afraid of success, to be honest. I found more
Mm.
afraid of getting everything that they possibly ever wanted in life than people afraid
Mm.
of getting it, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
So what is it? Why are we holding on to that? What's the belief, sense of
Mm.
self-worth? as well. Like, our value, our sense of self-worth can have a lot to do with that. But again, I
Mm.
feel like if it's not released at once, then there's more to address, and that's okay. That's
Yeah,
fine.
and it takes as long as it takes kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how I see it too. And equally with like bringing something in, do you find that sometimes like some things they're just, maybe they're not meant for us or they're not meant for us at a certain level. Like, I often have this question of like how much is free choice and how much is, our soul is wanting to have an experience. So we want to have an experience for whatever reason. Not that our conscious little human mind can necessarily understand it, but we might try to bring something in and we can't.
Yeah.
To know.
That's my answer to that. It's because ego. Are we doing it from a place of ego because we want to have that experience from a place of ego, or are we doing it from a place of authenticity and alignment?
Ah,
Like
yeah.
that
Yeah.
plays a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Authenticity is a huge thing, isn't it? Yeah. Doing something. I mean, that's ultimately when I speak to people often that's the conclusion. A lot of people who work as, work with energy, work as psychics say that's actually the purpose of our life is authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do
I
you
believe
get those messages too, like from the other side?
the messages that I get are very much like from guides and stuff, not necessarily like from the other side, but from guides, it's like you are just here to be you. That's why this is what I teach and this is what I talk about, because that's
Yeah.
what I get. Like the messages I get is like you're here to live your life. Like this life is for you to be yourself. But
Yeah.
there's so much in the physical world that has been messed with, corrupt
Yeah.
with, disconnected, that a lot of stuff in the physical world are telling you that it's not okay to be yourself. But
Mm.
then again, like, if you think about it rationally, you're like, okay, so why wouldn't somebody want me to be myself? What would happen if every single person on this planet felt completely free to be themselves?
Mm.
Very easy. Very easy to understand what would happen. Nobody would follow any orders.
Yeah.
Nobody would follow any orders. Nobody would, everybody would feel like completely free, and they wouldn't feel necessarily that they need to buy anything or they need to subscribe to any particular thing, right? And so it's very convenient for a lot of systems that we stay disconnected. It's very convenient, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But actually,
Yes.
the point is to just be yourself. Like the point
Yeah.
is that, like that's what we're all here to do,
Yeah.
in ways, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you can't be controlled if you're being authentic,
Well, yeah,
Um, and I'm curious about this, I meant to ask it earlier. Do people often or sometimes resolve conflicts or maybe they've had toxic relationships or maybe there's even been some kind of abuse that's happened and you mentioned that the soul when they are on the other side they're the wisest version of that. Have you seen healing around that? Are there conversations that can be had that couldn't be had when the person was alive, and what does that look like?
absolutely. Yes, I've seen
Yeah.
a lot of healing for sure, especially parents and children. Especially
Yeah.
parents and children. There I have seen a lot of healing. I have seen a lot of healing. There is a lot of empathy and understanding coming from the spirits, being like, I am here in your energy. If you want to interact with me, you don't have to. I understand that from where you are, you're angry at me, from where, rightly so. Like it is what it is. What has happened.
Yeah.
I can just say that that's the reason, and maybe,
Yeah.
sometimes the reason is that was one of the things that I needed to understand in this life, like that, like that was I choose to not see. I chose to stay disconnected. Like I chose this and I chose that, and now I understand it. But yeah, absolutely, like a lot of healing.
Mm.
A lot of healing. Yeah.
Yeah. So some people choose to be disconnected. That's just their life path. They're choosing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As well as some people choose to go intentionally because because this life experience is just too much,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
used to like, "Do you know what?" And I've had so many people that intentionally went and that chose to go. And when I have their loved ones asking, "Can you ask me why? Can you tell me why? Like, what did I do something?" Because obviously
Yeah.
they always feel like a lot of guilt. Could I have done anything? But actually, I've never connected to anyone that chose to go that said it was because of you, or it was because this thing happened, or it was because that
Yeah. That
happened.
makes sense. Yeah.
And everything that I'm hearing is it was just too much for me. I just could not, like, this planet, this experience, it was just too much for me, and I was too open, and I didn't know how to cope with it, and I feel so much better now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, this is a hard world, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
For
Yeah, of
sure.
course.
Yeah.
It is, it
And
is.
and no, thanks for sharing that. I'm sure that will be really helpful for people who sit with that. I actually my last episode that came out was with someone who her husband had taken his life, and she had a lot of messages from him after that happened, and a lot of clarity that came in after. I think it's a really important thing to note that, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a very sad. It's very sad, but it's good to know that, they're okay, and that it was their choice, not necessarily one that we would agree with, because it can, hurt a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. And how does that fit into, like, this idea of because it certainly seems like things are becoming more challenging, and I know actually, suicide rates are just climbing year by year. I mean, it is, the world, there are a lot more challenges now, than there have been just in the past 10 years. So where are we going collectively, and what are the choice points? I would love to ask that big question, towards as we reach, the end of our conversation. It's a big one, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts are.
I feel like we are expanding. I feel like we are waking up. I
Mm,
feel like one of the reasons, okay, so there's different layers to this. And I feel like probably in the next like few years, we're gonna feel the division even more because not everybody is gonna wake up. And that's just what it is. And it's
yeah.
okay. Not everybody's gonna wake up, as much as we would want everyone to do so, because we might know that it's so much like a much more peaceful way of living, more connected way of living.
Mm.
Not everybody is gonna want to do what is required, you know? Nobody is not, some people might not even believe that they can, like,
And just to clarify what you mean by wake up, because people throw this out a lot. I think what you mean is kind of what I mean, which is and it can be to various degrees of intensity or consciousness shift, but this waking up to this idea that you are not just a physical body or an ego, that there is more, essentially, that your nature is multidimensional. If I could just like reduce it to that. That's what you mean? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that choose to subscribe to the physical only, you know,
Mm.
and that's okay. As we said, we're not here to control. We're here to make, make sure that everybody is doing what they want to do, and that's okay. If that's some people's choices, that's fine. But I feel like the more a lot of people are going to be connected, there's also going to be a lot of people that choose not to see it that way, but I see more and more openness towards the
Mm.
future. I really see, like, the next, like, 20 years, I feel
Mm.
more and more openness. I feel more and more connection to our own multidimensionality, to our own spiritual selves, but I also feel then as a
Mm.
result of that, I feel more compassion and openness towards each other. So
Mm.
do believe that this new earth thing is here to just expand, I don't think it's gonna
Mm.
end at all, I don't think it's gonna end. I think there's gonna be maybe some dark times because some systems are gonna collapse inevitably.
Mm.
And a lot of people are gonna think that it's a bad thing. But I don't think it is. I think that that's might be that dark night of the soul that we all go through, maybe once or twice or even more in our lives. I think it might happen on a collective level too, but we know
Yeah.
well that it's a very good thing, we
Yeah.
know that it's
Yeah.
a very good thing. And so
Do
I do
you
that we're opening and expanding.
Yeah. Do you ask these kinds of questions ever to your guides or when you channel? Do you ask these kinds of questions like, "What is happening on this planet?"
I
I'm
don't
and
I don't ask these questions because actually the question that I ask the most is, what do you want me to do?
I
That's
love that.
the question that I ask the most because I feel like, it's the world's gonna do what the world's gonna do, right? So
Uh,
what is it I know from knowing myself and healing and studying
uh,
myself and whatever. I know that I'm here to help, right? I know that my authenticity is contribution. I know that my
uh,
authenticity is contribution. I know that my authenticity is help. And
yeah.
so that's the question that I ask, regardless of what's happening, what do you want me to do? What is
Yeah.
how can I be a vessel to help? And how can I be a vessel for the highest and best good? How can I be a vessel staying authentic to myself? Like how can I help? That's the question I ask the most. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm inspired now to go and practice some channeling and do some longer meditations and see what information I can get. I'm very curious now. Well, on that note of how can you help, why don't you share with my audience how you do? Yeah, how what you do, how you serve, what you're working on now, how people can find
Yes.
you.
Yes, yes. So I teach intuitive development. It's definitely one of the main things that I'm here to do for sure. I am currently I have the course going, but I am currently in the process of updating the course as well. So everybody who signs up for the course now is also going to get the updated version of the course when it comes out in a few months. Because all
Yeah.
this changes, I like to keep everybody together and to just like give in this way.
Mm.
So that's what I do. And the new version of the course is going to be even more focused on this like new earth like way of living kind of thing.
Mm.
That's all the intuitive development. But I also help people on a one-to-one basis, simply, in their own healing journey, in their own expansion journey.
Yeah.
When they're starting to discover themselves, they're starting to open up. And, maybe it's energy healing that they need. Maybe they want to explore a little bit about their Akashic records and their soul contracts and what is it that they're here to do in this life.
Yeah.
I very much I do that as well. And then
Beautiful.
I'm a teacher on the Insight Timer app, so I do loads of live events.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite meditation app, by the way.
Yeah.
Insight Timer. Oh, I didn't know you were on there. Maybe you did tell me. I'll check it out. Well, we'll definitely put all your links in the show notes so people
Yes.
can find you, learn about your intuitive courses. Yeah,
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm here to help.
great.
So
Yay.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been great to have a chat.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.